day we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad that miracles don't happen still. But now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. But now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, heaven second rate and me down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. Used to be a world half there, heaven second rate, hand me down. But I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your neighborhood Unitarian Universalist congregation. My name is Susanne Maziarz. I'm the music director here, and you just heard Allison Kabayama singing Holy Now by Unitarian singer-songwriter Peter Mayer, who you may be familiar with his lyric writing because he wrote Blue Boat Home, the lyrics for Blue Boat Home. So that's another song of his, Holy Now. I'm here to share with you the life of the community and all the things coming up in December. We have a very busy community. Starting with this Saturday is our monthly open mic, our talent night. Starts at 7:30, runs till about 9. All talents are welcome to come perform, all ages, or just come and be the audience and hear all the wonderful performers. It's hosted by Allison that you just heard. You don't need to sign up ahead, just sign up when you arrive. In our neighborhood gallery, we have 2 shows running until January 19th. Printed Pluralism in the West Gallery, and Drew Nelson has a solo show in our East Gallery. You can view those after service or anytime during the week drop in. Info about our small groups are available in the Cappuccino room. You can sign up today. They're filling up. The sign-up sheets are underneath the television screen. Some of the small groups that are happening is Active Hope. We're looking for people, if you're interested in this, to sign up soon because there's a pre-session meeting that happens with the facilitators. So Active Hope is all about finding ways to engage in meaningful action to address the challenges of our time while preventing burnout. We have our Blue Holiday service, Wednesday, December the 18th in the evening from 7:30 to 8:30. The holiday season can be a difficult time for those experiencing loss or a general disconnect from the holly jolly of the season. Join us for the simple service of sharing, reflection, expressive arts, and imagination through words, creativity, and music. This is presented by Anna Di Felice, Tab Enta, who's our service weaver this morning, and myself. The Multi-Faith Marketplace and Fair is happening here in Rafos Hall next Sunday from 2 to 5. There's artisans from our different communities with their works for sale. There'll be food, henna, stories, folk dancing. All are welcome to check it out. Warm Hearts, Warm Clothes, Christmas caroling in the neighborhood for Out of the Cold. All are welcome to come join in the singing. That's happening next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, next Wednesday, December 11th. We'll meet here at 6 to do a bit of a vocal warm-up, meet everyone, sing through some of the carols. Then we'll be walking down streets in the neighborhood, singing from the sidewalk and collecting warm coats and pants and so on from folks that live around here and bring it all back here for hot cider and fellowship afterwards. I'm looking for a volunteer that has a vehicle, maybe that isn't hip to singing, but would be helpful to help collect those clothes in the back of the car and bring them back here. If that's you, could you please talk to me after the service today? Is there a message from the Finance Committee? Okay, moving on. Next Sunday after service, we're hoping, related to that Warm Clothes, Warm Hearts caroling, we need to put flyers on all the people's houses to let them know we're coming so they can grab their clothes out of their attics or their basements and have them ready for us. So Julia and I will be walking around the neighborhood, taking flyers to the neighborhood doors, and this is a fun way to get kids involved in social justice as well. So any NUC families that would like to join us to flyer in the neighborhood, be welcome. And any adults that would be interested in helping out in this way, we'd appreciate it. We'll be going out after the service next week. Circle Music, the December session of Circle Music is happening Sunday, December 15th, 2 Sundays from now from 3 to 5. That's facilitated by Jane Lewis and myself. All voices are welcome to this improvised singing circle in the style of Bobby McFerrin. It's a way to engage in deep listening, being in the present moment, sharing your voice, and a lot of laughing. No experience is required. All voices are welcome. You can talk to me after service or write to me at music@nuuc.ca for more information. Our services at Neighborhood are created by our staff and volunteers. Reverend Sally Frische is our minister. We'll be hearing our message of inspiration from her today. I'm Susanne Maziarz, your music director. Julia Thompson's here, our lifespan learning director. Tab Enta is our service weaver this morning. And Carlos Garcia is helping us out on our AV desk and Zoom. We thank all our volunteers in all ways that you help. Greeters, counters, LL volunteers, coffee committee. All these folks are named in the Cappuccino Room. We couldn't have this place without you. Next Sunday, we continue our exploration of the theme of generosity with the gifts of giving. Our speaker will be our beloved guest minister, Reverend Stephen Atkinson. Music provided by our own spirit band. Our service weaver will be Kurt Thompson, and Julia will be doing our Time for All Ages.
Strong start. Welcome to our Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Congregation service. Thank you for joining us, whether you are here in person or with us on Zoom. My name's Enta, and I will be your service weaver this morning. As we prepare to enter sacred space, let us remember that this land beneath our floors and our feet has been sacred since time immemorial to the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, who are the treaty holders of this land, and to the Wendat, Anishinaabeg Nation, and Haudenosaunee Confederacy, who lived here before me and are living here today, together with other First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. Ojibwe elder Lillian Pedawanaqut's teaching on the medicine wheel speaks to 7 sacred directions: north, south, east, west, up to Father Sky, down to Mother Earth, and inward toward the fire at the center of our hearts. For the Ojibwe people, and for so many other First Nations of this land, the medicine wheel teaches that all things in all directions are equally part of the generous gift of creation. No person, animal, plant, being animate or inanimate, medicine, season, or stage of life is any more or less sacred than another, for all are needed to find balance and wholeness at the center of the wheel. As I stand on this land, a descendant of Japanese and Northern European settlers, I'm mindful of covenants broken and violence committed by my people in the name of false ideologies, which positions some people or beings as more sacred or more worthy of Creator's generosity than others. And so I covenant to deepen my own understanding of this land, its stewards past and present, and my responsibility to make right all my relations. And now, let us create a sacred space. Sacred space is something we create and occupy together. So, in the spirit of that togetherness and that presence, let us start with electronic devices. If your device will help you engage more fully with the service, please keep it at hand. If it will distract you from our sacred space with pinging or buzzing, reminders of tasks yet to be done, please take a moment to silence it now. And next, I invite you to find a comfortable position. If you like, you can close your eyes or soften your gaze. And turn your attention to what's present in your body. Maybe there's a comfy stillness that invites you to yawn, stretch, settle back and get cozy. An anxious heaviness that wants some slow, deep breaths and a big old bear hug. Maybe an excited, gleeful energy that wants to stim, fidget, express, get up, move around. Whatever is there, all this too belongs in sacred space. Now and throughout the service, let us notice and attend to whatever our body minds are asking of us. I invite you now to join me in reading our invocation. The words will be projected on the screen. If you do not know the words and cannot read them, sit back and just take in the words as they are read by those around you. Let us cast the circle of a sacred space here. Let us cast the circle of a cherished space here. A space of safety, a place of forgiveness, a place of love. If we want the Here at Neighborhood, rather than lighting our chalice anew, we take the flame from our children's lantern and use it to light our chalice. And in this way, we are reminded to keep the light and the wisdom of children alive in our hearts. I would like to call now on my friend Peter Marmarek. Will you light our chalice? And as Peter lights our chalice, I invite you all to join in our chalice lighting song. For today's prelude, I'm so excited to welcome our guest musician, Taylor Abrahamse. Like a maple leaf in a gust above the prairies, Kerrville New Folk winner Taylor Abrahamse blissfully glides above the borders of song, gender, and genre with his/her deftly crafted, hook-laden hammercore pop. Out of love for Taylor's writing, Eddie Kramer, think Hendrix, the Beatles, etc., insisted on working together to produce and mix his acclaimed debut album. Fresh from a US tour with former minister turned #1 iTunes selling drag queen singer-songwriter Flemmie Grant, Taylor will be releasing new music throughout 2025. Salut.
Holding on so steadily, but I know a real love, a real light could turn this stubborn life to easy street. I feel so much shame I could snap, and then Lord how she laughs. Now I'm free, don't even worry about it. It don't matter how it goes, all that matters is you play, all that matters is you go. Don't even worry about it. Pick any key and baby, hold on. They're gonna find you, love's gonna find you. You can't shake the feeling. Somebody needs you somewhere just like this, and they're so right about it. You can't shake the feeling. Somebody needs you, yeah. Somebody needs you, yeah. Somebody needs you. Hold on. They're gonna find you. Love's gonna find you. Honestly, hesitation takes more energy. Face the mountain or a little white lie, a little long. Suddenly bound to be a 20-car pileup. Can't you feel the flames lit, yet the fire's cold? Another gaslit grip from an oily royal. Don't even worry about it. It don't matter how it goes. All that matters is you play. All that matters is you go. Don't get stuck on the details. Live in the rhythm, baby. Hold on, please hold on. They're gonna find you, love's gonna find you. You can't shake the feeling. Somebody needs you somewhere just like this, and you're so right about it. You can't shake the feeling. Somebody needs you, yeah. Somebody needs you, yeah. Somebody needs you. Hold on. They're gonna find you. Yeah. Love's gonna find you. Ooh. Yeah, yeah. sing along here. Like, I'll sing something, and if you can sing it back, that'd be awesome. So here we go. Somebody, somewhere, somebody, somewhere, somebody needs you. Somebody, hold on, hold on. A little bit softer now. A little bit softer now. Bottom of your range now. Get as low as you can. How low can you go? A little bit higher now. A little bit louder now. Hold on! Hold on! Great job. Hold on. Wait for it. They're gonna find you, love's gonna find you. You can't shake the feeling. Somebody needs you somewhere, just like this. And they're so right about it. You can't shake the feeling that somebody needs you. Hold on. They're gonna find you. Yeah, love's gonna find you. Oh, hold on. Oh, please hold on. Oh, please hold on. Yeah. Oh, early morning, I guess. Can't hit that. Thank you.
Ooh. Oh, Taylor, I needed that. I feel great now. Ooh. All righty. And now we continue in sacred space. We have an optional wiggle room back at the sanctuary over to my left, from which you can hear but not be heard. The room has a couch for some, toys for others. Assisted listening devices, like this sucker here, are available over at the sound desk if you'd like to give those a try. It's like everyone's speaking right into your ears. Here at Neighborhood, we are open to many beliefs and learn from many traditions. We welcome all people looking for a spiritual community. If you're visiting us in person for the first time, special shout out to you, welcome. And we encourage you to stay after service for coffee time, during which there will be tea, water, and other non-coffee bevies available. If you're new or new-ish, grab a red mug, and that will signal to us that you would like to learn a little more about us, and maybe we'll get to learn a little bit more about you. As of this week, if you're finding that the cappuccino room is a little bit loud for conversation, Reverend Sally's office will also be open and available if you'd like to get away from the noise for a chat. Our services do vary from week to week, so if you're new, please do sample several to get a better feel for who we are. Our mission here at Neighborhood is to empower spiritual growth and shared action for the care of our world. Our theme for December is generosity, one of our 6 Unitarian Universalist values. There it is. In the words of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another, in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Last week, in the final service of our pluralism theme, our weaver, Deb Bertazon, spoke of the service weaving team's pluralistic approach to collaboration and creation. So thank you, Deb, for the tee-up. That was perfect. Some of you may have noticed that this is my first time standing up here service weaving. Aw, shucks. But I mention this because from the point of first being asked by Peter on behalf of the team to service weave, all the way back in April, wow, it's been a while, to my first meeting, the process of being lovingly mentored by the team, and the slow process of finally working up the nerve to get up here, the entire team has been so generous to me. Generous, of course, in the obvious and tangible ways. Generous with shared meeting time, the shared snacks, which are always present in abundance at meetings, with text files and web pages full of valuable guidance, but also generous with the less tangible. Generous in their trust with a relative newcomer, in their attention to my endless, repeated questions, their patience with my mistakes. And so, if I manage to weave my way through this service with relative competence, it's not just me, but the manifestation of all of that generosity at work in a million big and small ways. Our time and our space together in this sanctuary, of course, is sacred, and so it follows that service weaving, in all of its parts, is a sacred undertaking. The reading that Peter shares with us from a sacred text at the top of the service weaving meetings is no more or less sacred than the email that Gordon sends me at 9:45 p.m. on a Friday, very politely asking if I could please send my weaver's script to him to prepare the script for Carlos. Both sacred, both generous, because at their core, they're really doing a lot of the same thing. Both of them are giving of their knowledge, their labor, and their grace freely to me so that I might pass some of my own knowledge and labor forward in service to beloved community. And that, I think, is the really neat and magical part of generosity as one of our Unitarian Universalist values. All that is done generously, be it sharing a sacred text or sending an email, becomes almost a living prayer for our common good. Or put more succinctly, in the words of American author and spiritual mentor, A.W. Tozer, the spiritual manifests in a life that knows no distinction between sacred and secular. Moving right along, now's the time to greet your neighbor. If you're present on Zoom, drop a greeting on mic or in chat. Those of you here in Meet Space, after you've given a wave or a hug or a hello to a few of your neighbors, turn around to the back wall and give a wave to our friends on Zoom. Susanne will sound a chime to end, so get up and take a moment to greet those around you.
I'm going to invite up Allison again to help me lead you in breaths from a poem from Barago Diab with music of Isai Barnwell. All things are holy. You're welcome to engage in this song in any way that you'd like to. Standing, sitting, dancing, moving.
have died have never, never left. The
dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The
dead are not under the earth.
So
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in the crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Zah, whoosh, ah, whoosh, ah, whoosh, ah, zah, whoosh, ah, zah, whoosh.
Hey, I'm Julia. This is the Time for All Ages. Welcome. You want to come on over? So when I was a teenager, I had to play the part of an angel in the school play, and this involved making my own costume. So I assembled all the materials for my angel wings, like the wire cutters, the chicken wire, the long strips of white fabric, and the silver spray paint. And I was super excited about this because I was going to make the most magnificent angel wings ever. Well, long story short, along the way, I quit several times and I got so discouraged. And then I was just done. And then I looked at these angel wings, and there were knots in the fabric, and they were misshapen, and they were kind of dirty because I had been working on them in my parents' garage, and there was even a little bit of blood where the chicken wire had poked into my fingers. And I thought, what kind of angel wears wings like this? And then, I don't know, an answer kind of came to me, and I thought, maybe an angel that's not perfect, but that's somehow good enough. And that's the kind of angel I was. We tweaked the play, and that's maybe the kind of angel I am now. Not so perfect, but hopefully good enough. And now for the story. This is called The Most Magnificent Thing by Ashley Spires, and I could really identify with this story. This is a regular girl and her best friend in the whole wide world. They do all kinds of things together. They race, they eat, they explore, they relax. She makes things, he unmakes things. One day, the girl has a wonderful idea. She is going to make the most magnificent thing. She knows just how it will look. She knows just how it will work. All she has to do is make it. And she makes things all the time. Easy peasy. First, she hires an assistant. Next, they gather their supplies. They set up somewhere out of the way and get to work. The girl tinkers and hammers and measures while her assistant pounces and growls and chews. When she's finished, she steps back to admire her work. She walks around one side, Her assistant examines the other side. It doesn't look right. Her assistant picks it up and gives it a shake. It doesn't feel right either. They are shocked to discover that the thing isn't magnificent or good. It isn't even kind of, sort of okay. It is all wrong. The girl tosses it aside and gives it another go. She smooths and wrenches and fiddles. Her assistant circles and tugs and wags. When she's finished, she stands up and takes a long look at it. Her assistant gives it a little nudge with his paw. The thing is still wrong. She decides to try again. The girl saws and glues and adjusts. She stands and examines and stares. She makes it fuzzy. She makes it long, short, rough, smooth, big, small. One even smells like stinky cheese. But none of them are magnificent. Her hard work attracts a few admirers, but they don't understand. They can't see the magnificent thing that she has in her mind. She gets mad. The angrier she gets, the faster she works. She smashes pieces into shapes. She jams parts together. She pummels the little bits in. Her hands feel too big to work, and her brain is too full of all the not right things. If only the thing would just work. Crunch. I'm no good at this. I quit. Her assistant suggests a walk. It's not much help at first, but before long she starts to feel different. Bit by bit, the mad gets pushed out of her head. As they stroll along, she comes across the first wrong thing she made. The bad feelings are about to start all over again. Then she notices something surprising. There are some parts of the wrong things that are really quite right. The bolts on one, the shape of another, the wheel-to-seat ratio of the next. They're all sorts of parts that she likes. By the time she reaches the end of the trail, she finally knows how to make the thing magnificent. She gets to work. She works carefully and slowly, tinkering, hammering, twisting, fiddling, gluing, painting. Her assistant makes sure there are no distractions. The afternoon fades into evening. Finally, she finishes. She alerts her assistant. The pair take a good long look. Yeah, it leans a little to the left. It's a bit heavier than expected. The color could use a bit of work too, but it's just what she wanted. They climb aboard and take it for a spin. They're not disappointed. It really is the most magnificent thing. And let's go and create some magnificent things in there.
What a wonderful story. Also, thanks, Gordon, for the mic work. It's my pleasure now to welcome our very own Reverend Sally Frische, joining us virtually from south of the border with today's message of inspiration.
I am so delighted to be able to be with you again, although it is from a distance. You're joining me here in my home office in Illinois, down in the United States. I miss you all, but I am happy to be able to be here virtually. And today, as we've already kind of started thinking about with the help from Tab and Taylor, and Susanne and Allison and Julia, we're thinking about generosity in the context of sacred space. And I'm curious how each of us might define sacred space slightly differently. It's a phrase that we use a lot. We use it in the beginning of our services, usually in our invocation. You know, we cast a circle of sacred space together, but we likely all have slightly different understandings of what exactly that entails. I think that we use it to invite people into a certain state of mind, a certain depth and reverence for what it is we're about to do. We're asking everyone to allow themselves to come into a space that is somehow separate from ordinary life, whatever that means for you. And once we're in sacred space, we're meant to behave differently, right? Behave with more reverence, more care and intention. It's an invitation that I appreciate. I think it reminds us that what we're doing here matters. Reminds us that our choice to be here on any given day is a meaningful one to each of us. But it's worth remembering, I think, that one person's care, intention, and reverence won't always look the same as another's. It's worth remembering that sacred can encompass all manner of things. And indeed, as Unitarian Universalists, it's part of our rich tradition to always be expanding what counts as sacred, to always be questioning the dividing lines between categories like sacred and profane, or saint and sinner, or heavenly and earthly. Depending on what kind of faith tradition that you grew up in, there's a good chance that you were taught at some point that there is a very specific version of yourself that you're expected to be when you're entering a sacred space. And let me also expand that beyond specifically religious spaces, because plenty of secular families observe sacred space in museums and concert halls or otherwise. So maybe your sacred space self that you learned would be the version of you wearing your fanciest clothes, your shiniest and least comfortable shoes, maybe being church appropriate or being respectful in the temple looked like speaking in a whisper, or holding your body very still, being obedient, following along with the instructions of your elders, or making sure to never ever use bad language. That's a big one. People still sometimes apologize for swearing in front of me when they learn I'm a minister. And none of that learning is inherently bad. I think learning how to behave differently in different settings is part of, growing up. It's part of being in a society with other people. And I know that I, for one, am grateful to be able to attend concerts or visit sacred sites without being surrounded by, chatty 10-year-olds loudly discussing Minecraft the entire time. I appreciate a quiet space. But it's also worth re-examining some of those unspoken lessons that we might be carrying along with us without realizing it. It's worth reflecting on all that we might be invoking in people when we invoke our own sacred space, here or anywhere. If we learned at some point, somewhere, that our presence, our bodies and noise and loud talking and fidgeting were disruptive to the holiness of a space, if we internalize that we could, simply by being a little too messy or a little too loud or a little too clumsy, that we could ruin the beauty and awe that others are feeling, how is that going to affect us now? How is that going to affect the communities that we build together? Do we see ourselves and our fellow people as fundamentally ruiners of sacred space? Or do we see ourselves as inherently part of what makes it sacred? We'll have different answers, but it's a question worth asking. And I wish I could say that this is only something that our more theologically conservative communities have to think about, but growing up Unitarian Universalist, I certainly remember getting sidelong looks when I was, a weird, badly behaved kid attending church in my pajamas. And nothing makes you feel more unseen than when someone stands up at the front of a progressive and welcoming group saying how we accept everyone, we would never judge anyone, and then still getting those looks of judgment from those same people. And now that I'm a minister too, I've heard, even among UU ministers, some conversations that just baffle me. I remember hearing one minister who was so mad once about a young person who'd volunteer to offer a reading on a Sunday and showed up in leggings and flip-flops. And this minister was so upset, saying, like, oh, I just couldn't believe, so disrespectful. And she knew she'd be in front of people and she's still dressed like that. And I'm just like hearing this and thinking, what are you talking about? This is a young person who is connected enough to her UU identity to want to be part of things. This is a gift. She's willing to stand up in front of people and be brave and share her voice. And you're angry because what? Because her toes are visible? How rigid, how small is your Unitarian Universalism? If it can be threatened by a pair of sandals, how heartbreaking that a young person exploring our faith would be made to feel unwelcome for something as trivial as wearing the wrong type of pants. There's a mindset, I think, that wants us to treat our sacred spaces like a couch with a plastic cover over it. That like protective posture, the feeling that the smallest disruption, the smallest crumb will ruin the value of what we have here. And that it's up to us to guard against that. And if it makes the whole thing less hospitable and less comfortable, that's just the price we pay, for making sure no one wears leggings in the pulpit, for making sure no one spills a drop on our beautiful couch that we love so much. If being invited in a sacred space always looks like being invited to sit quietly, keep our bodies still, be formal, respectful, trying hard not to make noise, then there's a lot of people who aren't going to be able to be part of that space. This Sunday here marks the beginning of our series of services focused on generosity, and it's a chance to ask ourselves what a generous version of sacred space looks and feels like. This congregation does this really well in some ways. There's like a looseness of expression. There's a vulnerability and willingness to jump in and participate in less familiar spiritual practices here. And there are certainly plenty of leggings and sandals and comfortable casual energy here. I love that. I talked about our faith as a couch as a metaphor, but I know that here at Neighborhood, we're also literally looking at seating options as a way to make our space more generous, more welcoming. Not everyone can sit in a chair comfortably for an hour or more, and having things like cushions on the floor and chairs with arms and spaces for wheelchairs and scooters, and even having some chairs in the back behind the glass divider for anyone with sensory sensitivities or respiratory vulnerability who might want separate airspace. Part of how we can be generous with one another is by making space for options, for acknowledging that there is no one way of being together. And yes, I'm talking to all of us on Zoom as well. Making space for difference without judgment. Our circle of sacred space is at its most sacred when it's more like a flexible amoeba of sacred space, capable of absorbing and including whatever it is we might bring into it. And it's not that dressing formally or sitting in rows or wanting silence and stillness are the wrong way. It's just that they're not the only way. The Sufi Muslim poet Rumi is credited with saying there are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the earth. And in a tradition as multi-faith as Unitarian Universalism, we should be comfy with the idea that sometimes sacred space is going to look totally different for one of us than it is for another. And this seems like as good a time as any to say, fidgeting is very welcome during this sermon. In fact, you've been listening very well for a while. So give yourself a little wiggle if you want, crack your back. Know that you're not disrespecting me or the space when you take care of your own comfort and well-being. You are part of what makes the space sacred. So when you take care of yourself, you are taking care of us all. It's part of my theology as a Unitarian Universalist, and specifically as a preacher, that there's really no such thing as a distraction from the message on a Sunday morning. If everything is holy, if everything is part of the beautiful revealed truth of the universe, then who am I to say that something from that universe is disrupting my all-important sermon? It's just a different part of the same message. If we really believe that there's something sacred to be found everywhere we look, then what's stopping us from seeing the whole world as part of our message of inspiration? This goes back to the transcendentalism in our tradition's roots. Emerson and Thoreau and Fuller, all those 19th century Unitarians who first pushed the church to consider the possibility that people don't need church buildings and preachers to experience God firsthand. The idea that looking out the church window and getting distracted by a snowstorm outside could be just as inspiring or more as any minister's prayer or sermon. And don't get me wrong, I have had services interrupted by crying babies, bats flying around me, belligerent men yelling at me from the center aisle, once a beloved elder suddenly fainting in the pew, even a fire starting in the back of the sanctuary and setting off all the smoke alarms. And I'm not so enlightened that I can say that I wasn't alarmed or annoyed or thrown off by any of those. I definitely was. But also with a little distance, I can understand how each of those has a little sermon in it, right? A message about connection and impermanence, life and death, and going with the flow. And I can guarantee that everyone at that church that one day remembers how it felt coming together, gathering outside, waiting for the fire truck to arrive, far better than they were going to remember any particular words of my sermon. And are there times that you can remember when a Sunday morning was interrupted, a ritual was thrown off by a cell phone ringing or someone chewing gum too loud or a kid asking their parent in a stage whisper when it was snack time? You know, we've all been in spaces that were disrupted. How did it feel? And is there a way you can look at it now that feels different? You know, sure, it's not great when a baby cries through an entire Sunday and makes it hard for people to hear, but I also genuinely believe that a crying baby communicates just as much, if not more, than any sermon. Partly because that person, that baby, is expressing something so fundamental, so human, that a lot of us can forget as we grow up. You know, expressing a pure need for connection, for sustenance, for safety. You know, that is holy. That is something so powerful. And also hearing a baby crying in church means that that baby's parent isn't alone that day. It means that there is a person among us who brought this baby, who is listening to those cries day in and day out on their own and still made it out the door in order to try and connect to their faith community. I mean, that is a miracle. That person deserves our respect, our support, our generosity, not our judging looks, not our shushing. And of course, hearing a baby cry in a faith community means that that community has a future. It means that there's a new generation being born and being interwoven into the shared life of the generations that came before. You know, and that carries more hope, more promise than any sermon I've ever delivered. And in case you're now thinking, you know, oh no, did I shush someone and Reverend Sally is mad at me? You know, is she saying we're doing sacred space wrong? Oh my gosh. No, please rest assured, this is not about you. This is not about anyone in particular, any community in particular. You know, it's only about you insofar as it's about all of us. This is something that goes beyond anyone's spiritual community or any congregation's way of doing things. There is a time and a place for brainstorming, experimenting about how we might actually build flexible spaces and welcome in as many different needs and worship styles as we can. But my goal today isn't to hold a committee meeting and leave neighborhood with a bunch of action items and strategies. I want us to do what it takes to actually go deep and find the root, the beliefs that we might only be half aware of, that are shaping how we all think of the division between the sacred and the ordinary. Because if we think sacredness can be disrupted, can be ruined, then I think part of us will always be afraid. Afraid that we're going to break it if we bring our full selves into sacred space. There are certainly things that can go wrong. There are certainly ritual moments that are disrupted by noise or by distraction, but it is my belief that there is a larger container capable of holding it all. And that container is what I call sacred space. Part of what I want us to be thinking about is our ability to be generous around those disruptions, that there's a difference between disrupted and ruined. And acknowledging the disruption is just part of it. Distraction is just a different face of the divine. What if noise doesn't take silence away, but just joins it in a space? What if movement doesn't erase stillness, but gives us a chance to see how they're connected to each other, not so separate? The composer John Cage famously wrote a piece called 433. That is 4 minutes and 33 seconds of silence. It's very well known. Every performance of 433 is different because it creates a space where the audience is listening intently to ambient sound, hearing the ways in which silence is not silent. Silence is never truly empty. There's always something breaking it. In the very first performance of 433, part of the silence was the sound of people storming out in anger once they realized what was happening. If we played 433 here in our sanctuary, part of the performance would be our creaky floors and traffic passing on the street and kids' voices through the door of the Rainbow Room. And none of that would undo the silence of the music. Part of the point of the piece is that silence can't be broken because it always contains sound. It always has. The silence of the music encompasses and includes whatever noise ends up entering into it. And similarly, I think about sacred space as something that can't be broken. It is inherently flexible enough to hold everything that we believe is worthy of love and care. That's what it means to be sacred. It's generous enough to hold everything that's worthy, generous enough to hold everything that is holy, and that is everything, right? Anything. Our sacred space can be one that we live in, that we take the plastic cover off of, that we spill things on, get crumbs ground into, and sink down deep into the cushions. Our sacred space can be generous enough to encompass everything, including us, including you. And this is important internal work because a generous space isn't just something we enjoy, it's something we create. We create it with our continued self-reflection and efforts to expand our community circle of welcome, but more than that, we create it with our own vulnerability.
Yes.
Letting go of the fear that will break or damage the holiness of our community with our needs and imperfections. The first principle of Unitarian Universalism is the idea that every person has inherent worth and dignity. Inherent worth and dignity. Not that we need to act dignified in order to have worth. For some people, sitting still and listening for an hour is torture. For some, being asked to listen to an authority figure without being allowed to speak up and interject with questions or thoughts is excruciating, is counter to their very being. And this is often true for younger people, but it can be true at any age, whether for reasons of neurodivergence or specific personality or just how you're feeling on a given Sunday or about a given topic. Sometimes just sitting and listening takes every single bit of your available energy and leaves no room for actually absorbing the message. The pressure of acting dignified is enough to keep some of us from ever coming back. How many of us, how many of our wider community, I have to wonder, are absent from our various sacred spaces because we're afraid of disrupting them, afraid of not being worthy of them? You know, sometimes when a Sunday service goes totally sideways, and I'm stressed out as a service leader, and everything's going wrong, and the time for all ages is unrehearsed, and the chalice goes out, and the reader can't stop giggling through what's supposed to be the most serious parts of the poem, and I somehow lose a whole page of my manuscript. I will just be in hell as a service leader, and I'll get people after those services saying, Sally, that was the best service we've ever had. It was exactly what I needed. And, you know, it's not because they didn't notice the mistakes, but it's because they were so comforted by seeing people be so messy up there at the front of the church. Seeing people able to just smile and keep going. Experiencing a bit of imperfection can mean more to people, so much more to people, than getting to see the most perfect, flawless, well-rehearsed performance of sacredness. We are fundamentally not here to be perfect for each other. We're here to be together. There's sacredness in the mess of that. Because whatever your unique needs are, there are a dozen other people who have those same needs and are afraid to let them show. There's real beauty in witnessing other people being noisy and clumsy, having flaws, making mistakes, recognizing that you too could make your mistakes and still be accepted. It's not just that we want everyone to feel welcome, to bring their full humanity. It's that someone else needs to see you, needs to see that you are here and that they too can be here fully. There's a lot of unspoken fitting in that comes along as baggage in a historically white Anglo-Protestant tradition, like Unitarian Universalism is. It takes so little to stomp on those tender and vulnerable feelings of being your true self out in front of others. Something as small as a sidelong glance or a whisper we can't quite catch. Getting shushed by a grown-up just when you were finally starting to feel comfortable in an unfamiliar space. It takes so little to make us hide ourselves away again. But we do catch glimpses, right? We know that it's possible. Glimpses of true belonging, acceptance, community here. We know that we are capable of that depth, that generous welcome to every part of a person. So we continue to strive for it. So this is my prayer for all of us building community together here at Neighborhood. First, that we celebrate that sense of true belonging when we feel it. It's no small thing. It's a victory. It's a miracle. Second, that we work to expand that sense to as many as we can. And finally, that we, all of us, risk bringing our whole self into this space. You know, your weird hobbies, your struggles, your mysticism, your love of Jesus, your experience with homelessness, your stimming, your neo-pronouns, your comfy pants, your mistakes and questions and uncertainty, whatever it is that you're worried won't fit in here, whatever it is you're worried might disrupt or damage this perfect sacred space, may we take the risk of sharing it anyway. And I wish I could promise that you'll never face misunderstandings or rude behavior or thoughtlessness in response, but the risk is real. What I can promise, what I do promise, is that there is someone else here longing to be reassured that they are not the only one. There is someone here who needs to see your unique brand of sacredness in order to know that they too are worthy, that they too are capable of being accepted and embraced here in this community. So whatever we're worried might ruin the holiness of our time together, Let us have a little faith that what we're building here is bigger than that, more flexible than that. Let us create spaces that are truly welcoming to every part, everything, anything. Welcome into our sacred circle. May it be so, and amen. Now, in today's service, I wanted to make sure we had a little space for us all to do some meditation. But given the message, today I'm going to invite us to try to meditate wrong. So if normally we make time for silent prayer reflection, taking deep, quiet breaths, sitting very still, what's the opposite of that? Do you want to fidget, stretch, jump from foot to foot, get up and pace, lay on the floor, sing a little song to yourself, let out a big yawn, turn to your neighbor, complain about how boring this is, get out your phone and add something to your grocery list, or send the text you've been thinking about all morning, show off your cool karate move you've been learning, pull your arms all the way inside your hoodie. I want to invite us to be present here in this space with these people, whatever that looks like. You've been sitting and listening. You've been holding space. You've been doing so well. And now you get to take a break, a genuine break. We'll take just 1 or 2 minutes to see how wrongly we can meditate together. And then Susanne will call us all back together with a ring of the temple bells. So go, be free. Meditate as wrong as you can. Thank you. The secret is there is no wrong way. If you are breathing, you are meditating. If you are alive, you are participating in something sacred. If you're on earth, you are on holy ground. If you are you, you are beautiful. If you are here, you are making this space more sacred. So thank you for everything that you are bringing, for everything that you are. And with that, I will invite Taylor Abrahamse forward again to take us away into another beautiful piece of music.
There we go. Thank you. So I've got a little sing-along portion in this, if you're willing, and I'll practice it with you once here. So when I go, oh, ooh, ooh, let me go, I want you to go, let me go, let me go. So can we try that? Oh, ooh, ooh, let me go, let me go, let me go. Oh, oh, let me go, let me go, let me go. And so that's all you got to do in each chorus. I'm going to sing my line a third time, but well, after all of that, you do whatever the heck you want. Here we go. Is it so wrong to wanna feel beautiful? No matter how you're born, to finally let the shame go, share every light in your soul. Deep down we know what Jesus would say. Live and let live, don't waste this life away. Oh, oh, let me go, let me go, let me go. Oh, oh, let me go, let me go, let me go. Oh, oh, let me go, let me feel beautiful. Beautiful. Is it so wrong? Lashes in a summertime skirt, to grow out your hair and know your worth. Maybe make your girl feel safer, understand her better. The elegant freaks, courageous and sweet. Soon all the kids will find it normal saying, oh, oh, there they go, there they go, there they go. Oh, oh, there they go, there they go, there they go. Oh, oh, there they go, being beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Being beautiful. That everything you wanna be and do speaks to you. Well, it's always been waiting. Yes, it's always been waiting. And always already been you. Yes, it's true. Is it so wrong to truly feel happy for once? Like your best life has finally begun. Like you've always been part of the whole, but where you fit was just a little bit down a golden road. A heart full of fear, punching water with fists, can't win. There's a whole new way to swim and saying, oh, oh, let me go, let me go, let me go. Oh, oh, let me go, let me go, let me go. Oh, oh, let me go, let me feel beautiful. Beautiful. Let a girl feel beautiful. Let a man feel beautiful. Let everybody feel beautiful. Let a little girl making a thing that isn't quite right with their little dog. Let them feel beautiful. Let me feel beautiful.
As Reverend Sally has reminded us, everything which occurs in our larger container of sacred space is, by its very virtue, sacred. Not just our praying and our meditating and our rituals, but also paying our rent, paying our staff salaries, everything that we share of ourselves to keep this community thriving. Now is the time for our offertory. Members of Neighborhood choose a variety of ways to give, through predated checks, automated withdrawals, e-transfers, or the baskets which the greeters will now pass around the sanctuary. Whether you are physically present or present online, you can follow the link or QR code you see on the screens or on your screen to our donation page. As today is the 1st of December and the beginning of our theme of generosity, I implore you to please give accordingly. The greeters will now pass the baskets while we hear another song.
Have you ever felt like there's something else far beyond just counting the stars and feeling small? Well, I wouldn't have it any other way. When the rain falls down and it hails so hard, convinced you'll never be free, just sit right down with me. Ooh, I don't mind feeling small with you. In fact, it's all I wanna do. The beauty and weight of it all, feeling small with you. From a flash of light, a sacred night came all we are. I can almost see eternity, feeling small. And when I see you, there's a joy I can't explain, as we trudge along to the same old song, whether vanity or greed, the night sky shines the key. Ooh, tell me how we know when we're right. We just exploded into light. How we know when we're right. Well, it just came to us one night. I don't mind feeling small with you. In fact, it's all I wanna do. The beauty and weight of it all, feeling small with you. What does it mean to be alive? To be alive, we're just a flickering cosmic time. Why worry your beautiful mind? Da 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 da. Tell me how we know when we're right. Da 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 da. And if you cry in space, the tears stick to your face, and it's a planet where the rain falls down sideways. I don't mind feeling small with you. Can you sing that with me? I don't mind, yeah, feeling small with you in a galaxy. I don't mind of 100 billion galaxies. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't mind in a universe, feeling small with you. Feeling small with you. I'm so glad it could be you and me tonight, today, burning bright, feeling small. To be alive.
If you have found love and acceptance here, if you have found home here, if you have found kindred spirits here, Let your generous offering be an expression of gratitude for our common life as we build the common good.
Invite you to join us in singing one last song. You can rise if you're willing, able or not. Move your bodies. It's a call and response song. I'll do the call. You're going to do the response with Allison. We could clap too. Why not? Forget your perfect offering.
Forget your perfect offering.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
There is a crack in everything.
There is a crack in everything.
That's how the light gets in.
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 Forget your perfect offering.
Forget your perfect offering.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
There is a crack in everything.
There is a crack in everything.
That's how the light gets in.
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 Forget your perfect offering.
Forget your perfect offering.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
There is a crack in everything.
There is a crack in everything.
That's how the light gets in.
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 Forget your perfect offering.
Forget your perfect offering.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
Just ring the bells that still can ring.
There is a crack in everything.
There is a crack in everything.
That's how the light gets in.
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 That's right.
Whew. Now, before we extinguish our chalice, I would like to turn it back over to...
Shoot.
It's all holy.
Yes.
It's all holy. So slightly out of our intended order, I'd like to turn it back over to Reverend Sally for some final thoughts on today's message.
Know that it is our living in it that makes this space holy. Know that what the divine, the universe, it is bigger than any of us can imagine. Make sure that when you go out into the world today, you carry with you this truth always, that you couldn't break it if you tried. That you being you is exactly what it needs. That your breath is exactly the meditation that is going to carry you where you need to be. With that, I will let us move into extinguishing our chalice, closing our space, returning to our busy lives, and of course, never forgetting that we are something beautiful, something sacred, something holy. Amen.
Will you extinguish our chalice as we sing our chalice extinguishing song? Before we move on from this sacred space to the next holy destination, I invite you to, those of you present in the sanctuary, to connect physically as we have spiritually, whether that is touching a hand or a shoulder, or expanding your awareness to the people around you. Take one last deep breath and take note, perhaps, of what you are leaving behind and what you are taking with you from our sacred space and time together. Today, I leave you with the words of pagan Unitarian Universalist writer Yvonne Abro. Whatever is sacred to you, may it be a blessing to you. May you be able to hold it lightly, like a bird in the hand, so that it will always return to you when you let it go. Whatever is sacred to you, may it be a blessing to you. Our service has ended. Go in love.